Hello friends, so today's video is going to be part 1 of 2 of my summer anticipated releases. So for today I'm going to be going through July and part of August, and there will be 12 books that I'll be mentioning, and in the next video I'll be taking us through the rest of August and then into September, which will then lead us into fall. The first one would be The Darkening, and the projected release date for this one is July 5th. And the summary, it says, in this thrilling and epic YA fantasy debut, the only hope for a city trapped in the eye of a cursed storm lies with the daughter of failed revolutionaries and a prince terrified of his throne. Going a little more in depth, it says, Vesper Vale is the daughter of revolutionaries, failed revolutionaries. When her mother was caught by the queen's soldiers, they gave her a choice: death by the hangman's axe or death by the storm that surrounds the city and curses anyone it touches. She chose the storm, and when the queen's soldiers, led by a paranoid prince, catch up to Vesper's father after 12 years on the run, Vesper will do whatever it takes to save him from sharing that fate. Even arm herself with her father's book of dangerous experimental magic. Even infiltrate the prince's elite squad of soldier sorcerers. Even cheat her way into his cold heart. And when Vesper learns that there's more to the story of her mother's death, she'll have to make a choice if she wants to save her city. Trust the devious prince with her family's secrets, or follow her mother's footsteps into the storm. After that, on July 12th, we have What Moves the Dead. So this is another book by T. Kingfisher. Recently, I picked up Nettle and Bone and fell in love with it, and now I really want to read basically everything that this author puts out. So many of you I know are huge fans of theirs as well. But this one, it's supposed to be coming out, like I said, July 12th. It's from the award-winning author of The Twisted Ones, comes a gripping and atmospheric retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's classic, The Fall of the House of Usher. So already I'm like, oh, if there's anybody to do this, I've only read one of her books, but I just feel like she'll be perfect for it. Just because I loved her writing in Nettle and Bone. And also I know that she writes some horror books as well, which I definitely need to pick up. But to give a little more context, it says that our main character finds out that their childhood friend is dying, and so they return to the countryside to see them. And it says what they find there is a nightmare of fungal growths and possessed wildlife surrounding a dark, pulsing lake. Madeline, which is his friend, sleepwalks and speaks in strange voices at night, and her brother Roderick is consumed with a mysterious malady of the nerves. And then it says, aided by a British mycologist and a baffled American doctor, Alex must unravel the secrets of the House of Usher before it consumes them all. On July 19th, we have These Twisted Bonds. This is the sequel to These Hollow Vows. This is what sounds like a Court of Thorns and Roses type of story, but it is young adult, or I should say it fits more comfortably in the young adult age range than maybe a Court of Thorns and Roses did. It's super angsty. It follows a girl whose sister she's trying to help her sister. They've been living among humans, and then our character's journey takes her to the Fey land, and there's a love triangle. There's, like I said, so much angst. There's romance, but there's also all the typical maneuverings and trickery of the Fae that our character has to deal with. But ultimately, all she wants to do is save her sister. Scheduled for July 26th, we have Violet Made of Thorns. And the synopsis for this one says, a darkly enchanting fantasy debut about a morally gray witch, a cursed prince, and a prophecy that ignites their fate-twisted destinies. Now, I hesitate to say the books that it compares it to, because I think so often comparisons end up either leading people astray or giving them inaccurate expectations, but it does say, I'll just say in case you want to know, it says perfect for fans of Cruel Prince and Serpent and Dove. Anyway, getting further into the synopsis, it says, Violet is a prophet and a liar, influencing the royal court with her cleverly phrased and not always true divinations. Honesty is for the suckers like the oh-so-not charming prince, who plans to strip Violet of her official role once he's crowned at the end of the summer, unless Violet does something about it. But when the king asks her to falsely prophesy Cyrus's love story for an upcoming ball, Violet awakens a dreaded curse, one that will end in either damnation or salvation for the kingdom, all depending on the prince's choice of future bride. Violet faces her own choice, sees an opportunity to gain control of her own destiny no matter the cost, or give in to the ill-fated attraction that's growing between her and Cyrus. Violet's wits may protect her in the cutthroat court, but they can't change her fate. And as the boundary between hatred and love grows ever thinner with the prince, Violet must untangle a wicked web of deceit in order to save herself and the kingdom, or doom them all. So another really nice, oh my, angsty story for the summer, which I'm totally fine with. It sounds fun. Also scheduled for July 26th, we have the Book of Gothel. This is one of my most anticipated releases, and I don't know that I'm going to read the entire synopsis because it's quite long, but I think that even a brief synopsis here will be enough, I think, to intrigue a lot of people. It says, everyone knows the tale of Rapunzel in her tower, but do you know the story of the witch who put her there? I'll read a couple of quotes too. One is from Publishers Weekly and one is from another author. It says, smart, swift, sure-footed, and fleet-winged, the Book of Gothel launches its magic from a most reliable source, the troubled heart. The author is a magician. And then also Publishers Weekly says that it's a shimmering debut. It's a sprawling epic full of magic, love, and heartbreak. Fans of Circe and the Wolf and the Woodsman will devour this taut, empowering fairy tale. Moving into August. First up, on August 9th, we have Fury Song. You know how excited I am for Fury Song. This is the third and final book in the Fireborne trilogy by Rosario Munda, and it follows essentially a fantasy version of the Russian Revolution, but with the incorporation of dragons. It deals with a lot of trauma. It shows so much to do with the ins and outs of different forms of government, the difficult choices that our characters have to make. It's one of my favorite series of all time. I cannot wait for this third book. So now would be a great time to pick up Fireborne if you haven't yet, and you can read Fireborne and Flamefall. I am going to be doing a little read-along in the month of July for the first two books. I'll have the dates in the description bar down below, but I'm so excited. If you've been wanting to pick this one up, maybe you haven't had a chance, and now there's some openings in your schedule. Perfect timing. I can't wait for that third book. On that same day, we have The Monsters We Defy. This one, it says, is about a woman able to communicate with spirits must assemble a ragtag crew to pull off a daring heist to save her community in this timely and dazzling historical fantasy that weaves together African-American folk magic, history, and romance. And it says it takes place in 1925 Washington, D.C. A little bit more in depth with this story, it says Clara Johnson talks to spirits, a gift that saved her during her darkest moments in a Washington, D.C. jail. So when the Empress, the powerful spirit who holds her debt, offers her an opportunity to gain her freedom, a desperate Clara seizes the chance. The task? Steal a magical ring from the wealthiest woman in the district. Clara can't pull off this daring heist alone. She'll need help from an unlikely team, from a jazz musician capable of hypnotizing with a melody to an aging vaudeville actor who can change his face to pull off the impossible. But as they encounter increasingly difficult obstacles, a dangerous spirit interferes at every turn. Conflict in the spirit world is leaking into the human one, and along DC's legendary Black Broadway, a mystery unfolds, one that not only has repercussions for Clara, but all of the city's residents. Scheduled for August 16th, we have the first binding. I will give a little bit of a brief synopsis here in a second, but before I do, I want to mention my friend Petrick, because unsurprisingly, Petrick has already read and reviewed this. If you don't follow Petrick, he has amazing written reviews as well as a fantastic channel, and he's the sweetest human being. He is just the nicest, and he has a really cute little dog, and he's just a lovely person in general. But either way, I'm going to read a snippet from Petrick's review. It says the first binding is a South Asian-inspired high fantasy debut reminiscent of The Name of the Wind, and he gave it 5 stars. So if you do know Petrick and you often really love his taste, I would say this one is just an immediate go check it out, even though I haven't read it. If you like what Petrick has to say and you trust his reviews already, this is probably enough for you. But to give a little bit more in-depth of a synopsis here, all legends are born of truths and just as much lies. These are mine. Judge me for what you will, but you will hear my story first. I buried the village of Ampor under a mountain of ice and snow. Then I killed their god. I've stolen old magics and been cursed for it. I started a war with those that walked before mankind and lost the princess I loved and wanted to save. I've called lightning and bound fire. I am a legend and I am a monster. My name is Ari, and this is the story of how I let loose the first evil. That is an incredible synopsis. Oh my gosh. It's going to be really hard for me to not want to pick that one up immediately. I have so many books that I want to get around to in August, and I know that that one is going to be massive. But man, that sounds so good. Anyway, switching now to the next book. This one is scheduled for August 18th, which I know is a slightly funny release date because usually books come out on Tuesdays. But I think this is a self-published book, and so that might be part of why the release date is kind of different. I double-checked, and it definitely says August 18th. And the book is A Duel with the Vampire Lord. This is part of a series where every book in the series takes place in the same world, but all the individual books are standalones. And I read the first book, which I believe is titled A Deal with the Elf king. And then there's also one with a Fae prince, and then this one that's going to be coming out. And so if you're a fan of fantasy romance, if you want to support an author who maybe has done a mix of both traditional and self-publishing, and you're somebody who enjoys fantasy standalones, then I would say maybe give the series a go. After that, we have Babel by R.F. Kuang. I know this is probably most people's #1 anticipated fantasy release of the whole year for a lot of people, and I probably don't need to say much about it because you've probably already checked it out yourself. But if you'd like to hear a little bit more about it, it says that Babel is the world's center of translation and, more importantly, of silver working, the art of manifesting the meaning lost in translation through enchanted silver bars to magical effect. Silver working has made the British Empire unparalleled in power, and Babel's research in foreign languages serves the Empire's quest to colonize everything it encounters. Oxford, the city of dreaming spires, is a fairy tale for Robin, a utopia dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge. But knowledge serves power, and for Robin, a Chinese boy raised in Britain, serving Babel inevitably means betraying his motherland. As his studies progress, Robin finds himself caught between Babel and the shadowy Hermes Society, an organization dedicated to sabotaging the silver working that supports imperial expansion. When Britain pursues an unjust war with China over silver and opium, Robin must decide, can powerful institutions be changed from within, or does revolution always require violence? That synopsis sounds amazing. Can't wait. I know early reviews have been very positive, but regardless, I'm very excited for this one. On that same day, we have the last book for today, which would be a Venom, Dark and Sweet. The first book actually also came out this year, so it's going to be really fun for me to be able to pick up something that I only just recently read. I had such a good time with the first one. It follows a girl who's determined to find the individual responsible for her mother's death and her sister's current illness. And so she partakes in a competition that has to do with the magical art of tea making. And during this competition, she's kind of thrust into a lot more to do with politics and betrayal that she never would have imagined. And so you see her having to navigate all of this while also somewhat trying to keep her identity a secret and participate in this competition. And then she also is kind of allying herself with other people, but she can't tell if they're actually friends or enemies. I had a lot of fun with the first one, and I can't wait for the sequel. And also, I just have to say it every single time, these covers are so pretty. I'll have information for all of these in the description bar down below. Definitely let me know which book on this list you are most excited for. Like I said, I will be doing a part 2 with a few more August releases, as well as some books that are coming out in September. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.